This is Talk of the Town, a weekly program featuring community events happening in and around Northeast Michigan, with your host, Nancy Smitham, and get the latest from Alpena Community College with Don McMaster. And now, today's Talk of the Town.
Good morning and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Nancy Smitham. My first two guests today are both from Alpena Civic Theater. I have Pat Jocks and Matt Southwell. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Happy New Year to both of you.
You as well.
I know you've been practicing and rehearsing like crazy for Mr. Roberts.
Yes, we have.
So tell me about Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Roberts was a Broadway show, opened in 1948, starred Henry Fonda as Mr. Roberts.
Okay.
And went on to become a very popular film in which Henry Fonda won an Academy Award, I believe, and so did Jack Lemmon. Recently, Jerry Lewis was interviewed. He had his 91st birthday. They asked him if there was anything he regretted about his career, and he said yes, not taking the part of Ensign Pulver,
wow,
which went to Jack Lemmon and made Jack Lemmon a star.
Okay.
So we have a great Ensign Pulver as well, and we have a great Mr. Roberts right here, Matt Southwell.
Yay, okay.
So
what's the storyline about?
the storyline is a bunch of sailors are kind of trapped on a cargo supply ship in the backwaters of the Pacific near the end of the war. And Mr. Roberts is desperate to get off this ship.
He wants to fight.
He wants to fight. He wants to get on a destroyer.
Oh, okay.
Do something really useful. Okay? And he has some major conflicts with the captain.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that was James Cagney.
Okay.
But we have Bruce Michaud.
Oh, perfect.
He's great.
Okay? And Bruce is doing a wonderful job as the captain. Okay? So during the course of the show, that's the source of conflict mostly between Mr. Roberts and the captain, and of course Ensign Pulver providing most of the entertainment and the laughs.
Comic relief, yeah.
Okay. The other major officer in the cast is Doc, played by William Powell.
Okay.
And it's not the original William Powell who played it in the film.
Yeah,
It's our William Powell of Alpena, but I think it's a little ironic.
Yes.
We brought him back from the dead.
Resurrected him. So we have a wonderful cast. The cast has one female, Laura Volashevich.
Okay.
She has been in a number of shows at Civic Theater, and she's kind of in my little ensemble group I have floating around town here.
Okay.
And she's a wonderful actor.
Okay.
So
Yeah, she is.
there would be more women, I suppose, if there were more parts, but there's like 17 men and one woman.
Okay. So, Matt, how have you prepared for this role?
Oh, well, I mean, difficulty with this role. I experienced it when I played Jack Nicholson's part in Cuckoo's Nest at Western. It's so synonymous with Henry Fonda, you know, and I'm just not going to be able to do a very good Henry Fonda impersonation, so I would just disappoint. So the real trick was figuring out what about me is a lot like that guy, and try to bring what made Henry Fonda so good and genuine in that thing, but as me. You know, anyone who's like really into the movie will be like, he doesn't look like Mr. Roberts. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I got fat. But, you know, but seriously, that's been the toughest thing for me, really, is that I thought of a lot of different ways to do it, and I thought, no, Mr. Roberts is you, be you, the best parts of you, because he is a really good guy, he just really wants to fight. There's a blurb in the script that says the real enemy is boredom. That's what they're fighting, which is all the hijinks and the shenanigans and the problems. They're just a cargo ship, and they're bored, you know. And and as far as Mr. Roberts goes, he wants to get into the action, and the war is almost over, and it's driving him nuts because he sends in letters every week, and the captain disapproves them, and they've got this ongoing thing with these letters, and that's what starts all the problems.
Okay. So, Pat, who are some of the other, you have a very large cast, so who are some of the other people?
Well, my assistant director, I have, Carol Rundell has done a tremendous amount of work. Grace Morrison designed the set and has worked
Great looking set.
hard. Bill Powell and Jay and Marilyn Kettler are all.
Okay.
Jay's doing the lights, Marilyn is doing the costumes, but they're all sort of assistant directors helping me.
Just whirling dervish around him while we do it.
Right. Also give a shout out to Mark and Evelyn Hunter, who are doing our advertising and a lot of other,
Indeed.
you know, seemingly mundane tasks, but it's time consuming.
certainly.
Necessary.
The rest of our cast, other than Matt, we have Nick Hartman as Ensign Pulver, William Powell as the Doc, Bruce Michaud as the Captain, does a wonderful job, Laura Volashevich as Lieutenant Gerard, Andrew McNeil as a sailor named Dolan, Joe Rabarchak, Randy Bouchard. I could go on and on.
Jake Duggar.
Jake Duggar. I have the world's oldest Navy,
Nick Stone.
the Alpena Navy. We're ready in case, you know, we close and there's some big emergency in town. We're ready with the Merchant Marine or whatever we are.
Gray hair on that ship.
All right, so when can we come to Alpena Civic Theater and see Mr. Roberts?
Yes. Well,
You wrote that down?
we open, yes. We open on the 12th of January.
Okay.
And we run through the 15th on the first weekend. And then we run again from the 19th to the 22nd. Our performances are 7:30 p.m.
Okay,
Except on Sundays, 2 o'clock.
okay.
The theater's number is 354-3624. If you'd like to call for reservations, usually the reservation desk is open after 3 till about 6. Prices are $8 for students and $12 for adults.
And we'd like to tell everyone that you need to make a reservation ASAP because your shows always sell out.
This one's good.
How true
This
that
one's
is.
funny. This one's great. If you miss it, your fault.
Yeah.
The show has a lot of surprises,
Yeah,
has a
really
big
fun.
cast. If you like seeing a lot of men,
There's a lot of them.
we got them. So we've got a kind of an eclectic mix of ages. You know, it's tough to cast that many
sure.
men in a small town. So we've drawn them from Hillman and all over the countryside. So-
Perfect. All right, we're out of time. I want to thank both of you for being here, and I look forward to hearing about the wonderful success of Mr. Roberts.
No,
Thanks,
thank you.
Dave.
Thank you. I'll be right back with Carlene Shakutsky following these messages. Welcome back. I'm with Carlene Shakutsky from Partners in Prevention. Good morning, Carlene.
Good morning, Nancy. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here, and I know you folks are always so busy, you always have so many things going on, so why don't you start us out and tell us what we can expect coming up this year?
Okay, well, it will be another good year for prevention in terms of our programming. We start at the very basic level, way upstream with parenting and helping parents learn what they need to know about child development and to be the best parents they can be, because that's what's really research is now showing more and more that the early childhood experiences really set the standard for what's going to unfold in your life. There was a study called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, or ACEs, and all of that research from about 1999 is now getting into practice, and it shows that if we can provide for each and every child at least one person in their life who can help mitigate some of the rough spots. We all experience trauma.
Right. Everybody has rough spots in their life.
And the difference between people for whom this does not define their outcomes are those that have a resilience, that have learned how to cope, and sometimes that takes just one caring person. And if you have a family, if you have parents who have maybe are suffering from a mental illness, or if they themselves have had trauma that hasn't healed, we're learning what a big factor this is. So we do a set of trainings called Caring for Children Who've Experienced Trauma. It's a 6-week program. We will be offering that coming up this spring in Alcona County.
Okay.
And it focuses on the essentials of trauma-informed caregiving, and a class we call Trauma 101 that just covers the basics, and then understanding trauma's effects, and then we go into the second 3 weeks, talk about putting that knowledge into action. So we talk about how to make a place safe, how to make the environment safe for a child who's experienced trauma and whose very sense of safety has been affected. Dealing with feelings and behaviors, that's where we really do a lot of work. We're even working with the schools this year to help teachers and classroom staff be able to kind of cue into behaviors that are challenging behaviors. Now we know some of that is coming from the child's sense of vulnerability, from things they may have suffered. It doesn't have to be something super dramatic. It could be things like something we all go through, the loss of a loved one. It may be a grandparent. Seeing your pet killed by a car. And if we don't have somebody that understands, we need to talk through that. We need to understand, put some meaning to this in a way that we realize that our whole world is not now a dangerous place. We can have problems. So those feelings and behaviors are really important. Connections and healing. We want to help adults that are working with children, adults who are parenting children, whether they're foster parents, whether they're kinship care. We have a lot of grandparents working and raising children, or parents themselves who may also need to be dealing with some of their own issues.
Being a parent in a perfect world, if you have enough money, enough time, and enough energy, it's tough. It's hard to be a parent when you're trying to be everything for everybody. So I'm so excited that these classes are out there, so you realize, hey, I'm doing it right. I just need a little bit of assistance and some good ideas and some focus every now and then.
And the trauma-informed work is also extending, as I mentioned, to the schools, Alpena Public Schools. I'm going into buildings and we're doing presentations, and that may lead to something more. It's Community Mental Health, Northeast Michigan, Community Mental Health, who is funding this effort in the community as part of their outreach through us. So we're real happy for that relationship, and also are available for small group presentations. Any group, a Girl or Boy Scout group, or a youth group with a church, pastors, anybody, businessmen that want to know, how service clubs, certainly we can do presentations to them. So they just need to call us at 356-2880, and we can arrange to have a presentation. Now, we also have weekly opportunities just in parenting support called Circle of Parents. So that's 11 o'clock every Thursday morning at the First Congregational Church, downtown Alpena, and I use the Lockwood Street entrance. And that's a place to give and get support. It's sort of parent-driven. What they need to talk about is what the facilitator, Ruth Fleck, leads the discussion on, and she has a lot of resources. Sometimes speakers are brought in, sometimes videos are shown, books are discussed. So it's just a comfortable, safe place to be able to come and talk about whether you're parenting for the first time an infant, or you've got teenagers that are being teenagers.
Yes.
It's a place where other people have had successes and they can share their knowledge, and you can share what you've done well, but also what do you need help with right now, and what are the resources in the community. We have a wonderful community full of resources that a lot of people don't you don't think about it until you need it. And so we're that connection through Circle of Parents to learning what's available out there. And then we also have our Power of Parenting workshop series. So coming up on January 17th, Angie Bruning will be doing an introduction to Love and Logic, which is an evidence-based program for raising kids and knowing how to handle all kinds of things. And she's actually going to be doing their 5-week Love and Logic, I believe starting in February, through the Alpena, Montmorency, Alcona Educational Service District. So this is an intro. On January 17th at Thunder Bay Junior High, 6 to 7:30, you can come and learn a little bit more about what is Love and Logic, and you could sign up at that time for the 5-week program.
We've only got about 2 minutes left, so I want to make sure you're able to get through your list there.
Okay, and then February 21st, we're going to talk about human trafficking. What, in Northeast Michigan? Yes, what you need to know about it right here in our midst. March 21st is Family Fitness, can be fun, and then on the April 18th will be Your Brain Online. So those are all the third Tuesday, and they're coming up over the next, over the spring. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing. We also, in each county this year, watch for youth mental health first aid training and mental health first aid training. We should be, we'll be coming up in February in Montmorency with the youth mental health first aid. We did the adult in December. Looking for Alcona County coming up in February for the mental health first aid. That's for adults, and that's an 8-hour training where you learn how to help someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis. Learn, what are conditions, what can you do, because we want to emphasize recovery and resilience when it comes to mental illness, and that again is through community mental health funding. Okay, we've gone through a lot of stuff. Phone number one more time. 356-2880 or toll free 1-800-354-2880. And I know there's posters around town for all of these things too, so kind of just keep an eye out or give you a call and you can give me all the last minute details. Absolutely. Thank you. Please stay tuned for Dr. Don McMaster following these messages.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Dr. Don McMaster. I'm president of Alpena Community College, and I'm pleased to have as our guest this morning Reverend Tom Orth and Pastor Bill McClure, who are instrumental in a very important event that the community will be hosting and the college will be hosting, Martin Luther King Day.
January 16th.
January 16th. Thank you. Primarily at Grantham Theater?
Yes, and across the hall we're going to be doing some things. And then also earlier in the afternoon, the instructor Matt Dunkel is having a movie that he's showing for his class and for the community.
Outstanding. We appreciate the insight, the passion.
This is the poster that should be appearing around town now that people can see and learn about the events, and they're all free and open to the public.
And what do you want the viewers to know? I mean, we're somewhat familiar, probably not as much as we should be, about the works of Dr. King, but what's the theme of this year's lectures and so on?
Our ongoing theme has been creating a beloved community. That's one of Dr. King's statements, and every year we do a little bit of a different emphasis, and this year we're going to be talking about white privilege.
Very good. And what would you hope the community to derive from that exploration?
We're part of a bigger country and a bigger society, and we need to connect with each other, and I think the advantage is and the need is for us to understand other people in the country.
Very good. Bill, what's your involvement and your passion in this?
Well, I was invited to join the effort just this year, so I'm a new kid on the committee. But I do feel a passion for increasing awareness of potential for racism, and I think at the root of this whole effort is the idea that we sort of take for granted historical figures in our history, and we don't realize how inadequately they represent so many folks in our culture who are not white or in the dominant position in society. And so it was felt a number of years ago that maybe we need to bring more emphasis to Martin Luther King Day and help people to become more aware of those very things which they may not be aware. And that is the imbalance that too often goes unnoticed.
Well put. Pastor, your take on your passion on to be involved in this.
Well, it is knowing that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, bigger than just Alpena. We're part of the whole country, and we want to understand more of the rest of the country too, even though we are not that diverse up here, which we have to quite frankly acknowledge. But it is important for us to know what others are feeling. One of the quotes on white privilege that struck me is, if you read through the list, and we have a list of things that represent white privilege, you can see how white people and people of color experience the world in two very different ways. And so I'm interested in trying to get some sense of that other way and how other people experience things. I realized that I had some privilege, very early, and didn't call it privilege at the time, but I lived in rural Northwest Ohio, and at one time my mother and I would drive to downtown Toledo, Ohio to do some shopping. And one time in driving through some neighborhoods, I looked up and there was a billboard with colored people of color on it. And that was new to me. I never had seen that before, and it started to locate me in the sense that I had been very protected and isolated from other parts of the country. And so it was important for me to continue to learn more and be part of the greater society.
Well, it's true that we don't live in a real diverse area, but we do have some diversity. We have students of color. Not a huge amount, but they're a vibrant part of our campus life. Some of them naturally gifted leaders and people who think in this area very deeply. Is it your hope that students will attend the Martin Luther King Day festivities?
Certainly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They have in the past.
Yes.
With emphasis from some of the instructors and extra credit, but that works too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, they help the rest of us too experience and learn more, because this is a community learning together, and that's what we hope to accomplish and have happen, is that we can learn from each other and we can have a better sense of each other too.
Very, very commendable work. This ties in some way to the Interfaith Amigos effort that was done 4 to 6 months ago?
Yes, it does. It continues to talk about people that are different than we are and that we need to learn about, and how we can relate and how we can live together.
And certainly learning from people from other perspectives in life, being able to learn from one another, not only about the other, but about ourselves from the other.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. What are the beneficial outcomes of people being able to understand somebody else's point of view in this context?
I think insight and enlightenment, one of the things we're going to, we hope to help people to see is that that goes unnoticed. Not only the overt biases, but those things that are not direct, but that are sort of underlying or subliminal, we might say, that can contribute to the imbalance or to injustice in our world.
Well put. Pastor Orth?
I think I'd like to have people get a sense of being able to have these conversations and being able to understand other people more. And oftentimes, because of our different backgrounds, we have different perceptions, and we aren't understood by each other. And so it's important to have these conversations and get that sense of the differences, that the way we perceive the world and how we think a little bit and how we experience things.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this on behalf of the community or your team, bringing Dr. King's good works and insights to life and to our students and our community. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
And my pleasure. Thank you, folks, for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you again next week.
This has been Talk of the Town with your hosts, Nancy Smitham and Don McMaster. For a list of events taking place in Northeast Michigan, please visit our website at wbkb11.com and click on the community link. This has been a Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation production.
The Talk of the Town furniture and set design are provided by Young Appliance Art Van Furniture on US 23 South in Alpena.